I would wake up at 7:30 and I'd get ready for weigh-in at 8 a.m. And this usually takes around 10 minutes. And then we all eat breakfast, and our first class is from 9:20 till 10:30.
Some camps reportedly aim for 1 kilo of weight loss per day. This far exceeds what's considered safe, even for adults under medical supervision.
$600 could give you a month-long stay at a camp with accommodation, meals, and daily exercise classes. It's not a spa retreat we're talking about here, it's a military-style weight loss camp in China. It's got intense exercises, rules on snacking, mandatory trips to the scale. They're sometimes called fat prisons. These camps are popular. We're going to speak to an influencer who's been to one, find out why they're on the rise in China, but also find out if they're a sensible way to lose weight. I'm Ikra, and this is What's in the World from the BBC World Service. So before we get into why these camps are spreading across China, let's hear from someone who's actually been to one. TL Huang is a content creator based in Australia, and she's on the line right now. Hey, TL.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm interested to learn about these camps. How did you first come across them?
I heard about these camps from my mum, who is Chinese, and she had actually told me about the concept of paying a couple hundred Australian dollars for an all-inclusive weight loss camp in China.
You're based in Australia normally, and these camps are in China. So why did you decide to make the trip for them?
Yes, so at the time I was solo traveling in China for 3 months, and I was actually eating a lot of food deliveries, and I had felt really unhealthy. And I felt like I had lost discipline. So my routine felt out of whack. I'd also put on about 20 kilos the past 3 years. And so when I came back to China to meet my relatives, they had also made lots of comments about how I gained weight and would judge and compare me. So at the time, I felt like it was time to make a change.
You mentioned that what led you to these camps is some of your family kind of commenting on your weight. How did that make you feel?
For me, I felt really insecure, and I felt like, I was getting fat shamed by my relatives. But at the same time, I guess they were kind of giving me tough love.
I've seen some of your videos. I know you've been documenting what it was like for you. Just tell us, give us the lowdown. What was it like when you went to the camps?
Yeah, so there was a huge culture shock that I didn't expect from attending the camps. Everyone was in it together to lose weight, and so I didn't feel out of place. And I didn't feel insecure about my body or feel judged about my peers, so that was really good. I had actually made friends with all of my dorm mates, where we kind of just bonded over, losing weight together, but it was kind of like a support system. And everyone was really friendly. So I felt like it was quite easy to make friends and kind of just feel like I was in a community.
So what was your average day in the camp like?
I would wake up at 7:30 and I'd get ready for weigh-in at 8 a.m. And this usually takes around 10 minutes. And then we all eat breakfast, and our first class is from 9:20 till 10:30. And then we would have lunch at 11:15 to 11:45. And then we'd have a 2-hour break in between. From 2:50 to 4, we would have a second class. And then from 4:30 to 4:50, we would have dinner. And then we would have spare time to work out again at 5:40 to 6:30. And then everyone joins together to do a night spin class at 6:30 p.m. till 7:30 p.m. So it was quite intense. And then we would finish off the day by weighing ourselves at 7:30 p.m. And then I would go back to my dorm to shower and rest. So it was very novel for a week or so, but then it also dawned on me that I needed to keep this up for another 3 weeks.
So you mentioned the first week you're kind of settling into the routine, and then you have 3 more weeks to go. So how did you kind of get through that?
For me, honestly, it was just messaging my boyfriend, and also messaging my friends. They were supporting me online. So whenever I was just going through like mental struggles, I would tell my boyfriend like, this is really hard. And, it was good feeling that support system.
Yeah. I mean, intense
Yeah.
is one word that you use there, but I've also seen that you used fat prison to describe it. Tell me a little bit about your thinking behind using that. Was that what it really was like for you? Do you feel like everyone felt the same way?
For me personally, it definitely felt like it was a prison because I didn't leave the compound for 28 days straight. And I had to track my weight every single day for progress. And the facilities weren't the best there either. And our trainers were there to supervise us, make sure we weren't sneaking in junk food, and that we were attending all of our classes. And we weren't allowed to skip classes or leave the camp without valid reasons. So, yeah, to me, it definitely felt like a bit of a prison. I think this camp gave me a hard reset and forced me to follow a routine and gave me the structure that I needed.
TL, it's been so good to hear about your experiences. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so we've heard about why some people are turning to these camps, but are there any downsides? We've spoken to a health expert. Let's have a listen.
My name's Luke Hanna, I'm a personal trainer and nutritionist. When we talk about these camps, it's important to separate the concerns about the rising rates of obesity, especially in children, from the methods used to address it. Extreme methods might look effective in the short term, but they carry serious physical and psychological risks, especially for adolescents. And the first issue is the extreme targets and timelines. Some camps reportedly aim for 1 kilo of weight loss per day. This far exceeds what's considered safe, even for adults under medical supervision. This is especially concerning because when you lose weight, you are not just losing fat, you are also losing things like muscle tissue. And if you are doing this with extreme methods, under restricting, over-exercising, you are increasing your chances of losing even more muscle tissue. You are also potentially impairing normal development, so you can be impacting how tall you may eventually be and your bone health. And there aren't just physical concerns, there are also psychological issues. Using these extreme methods, especially at a younger age, can significantly increase your risk of developing an eating disorder. And this matters because things like anorexia have the highest mortality rate of any psychiatric disorder. Another issue is exercise being framed as punishment. Some of these camps are getting people to do up to 6 hours of exercise per day, and if they do something wrong, they may have to do even more on top of their already excessive schedule. This teaches kids that exercise is something that you pay for mistakes with, rather than something that supports health and enjoyment. Now, some people do lose large amounts of weight, which makes it sound appealing, but a lot of them will quickly regain it once they return to their normal lives, because it hasn't addressed the root causes or issues. Instead, you should focus on gradual habit changes within your normal environment, supporting regular, nutritious meals, getting adequate protein and fruits and vegetables, and encouraging movement for skill, play and enjoyment, not punishment.
And these types of camps have been on the rise in China, as we've said a few times throughout this episode. So let's find out a little bit more about that. I'm joined by Wanqing Zhang from the BBC's Global China unit. Hey, Wanqing.
Hello.
So, Wanqing, we've said a few times that these camps are popular in China. How popular, though?
It's getting very trendy now. So according to Chinese media, there are about 1,000 camps across the country, and they vary in different styles. So I think those kind of stereotypical weight loss camps, when we talk about it, we are thinking about those military style camps where you have your own dormitories and then you have these very tight schedules of what exactly you need to do in a day, and then there will be these kind of canteens preparing food for you. And sometimes they actually goes to a very extreme forms that they might put CCTV cameras outside of your dormitory in case that you are hungry and you might want to get delivery food for some snacks. Or it can be like a very fancy high-end retreat style where you might be running on a treadmill overlooking a beautiful lake.
Okay. It's interesting to hear about the variety there. When did they start popping up, though?
I think it dated back to around early 2000s. Back then, there was this TV program documenting inside of this kind of weight loss organizations, and then it went very popular. And many of the coaches from the show decided that they wanted to open their own weight loss camp. But I would say the real boom of this kind of camp started in the past 10 years after the rise of social media. So if you go on the Chinese social media, Xiaohongshu or Douyin, and then search for weight loss camp, you will see so many different contents either posted by the weight loss camps organizers or the clients participating in these camps as well.
Yeah, and we spoke to someone a bit earlier that was who was documenting their journey. I guess people might be wondering why have these camps really taken off? Why are people joining?
So China is among the global trend that is facing the rising issue of obesity and overweight. So globally speaking, in around 2/3 of the countries, that more than 50% of the adults are classified as overweight or obese, and China is not an exception. According to the Chinese health authorities, they estimate that around 34% of the adults are considered overweight, whereas 16% are considered obese. And that's a big issue that motivates people to join this kind of camp. And I think apart from that, there is also this cultural issue that in China, China is a country that has relatively low acceptance and tolerance in terms of weight diversity, which means that if you are overweight, you are likely to face more discrimination in workplace or in the dating world.
And do we know what's led to that rise in obesity in China?
So as a Chinese, we really like rice and dumplings and noodles, and those are considered refined carbs, which is likely to contribute to weight gain. And at the same time, there's also this kind of lifestyle shift. And I think, again, this is not a China problem, but a global problem as well, that nowadays we spend so much time on our phone and on our tablets, and we are more likely to stay indoors, lying on a couch or a bed rather than going out and take a walk. And at the same time, it's worth stressing that China is a country that is really advanced in terms of all the variety of apps, including delivery apps. Is so convenient and affordable to get delivery food or groceries to get to you, delivered to you by your door. And why would you, go out and do your own groceries?
Yeah, that's a good point. Wanqing, I always love it when you come by. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us on today's episode. Remember, you guys can comment below at any time and you might be featured in a future episode. Speaking of your comments, I wanted to shout out Gao, who's commented on our video about gig worker protests happening across the world. It says, I think the regulations should be changed with higher salaries for gig workers. And there's a few of you debating in the comments over that too. Thank you so much for those comments. But for now, I'm Ikra, and this is What in the World from the BBC World Service. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.